Welcome back to Cougar Chronicle. Can you believe all the great information we got?
Oh my gosh, so excited. And from that conversation with Andrea, you can tell just what a great selection, what a great decision for the district.
Yes, positive.
Just her energy, the experience that she has with the district.
Yes.
I think that really having that person, and you know this from being in the classroom, having somebody full-time that really helps create that K-12, almost pre-K-12 voice and vision is going to make just the world of difference, and I can't wait for her to get started.
I really liked her, yeah.
I think the hardest part for me right now is I want to do so many things. It's like you know what you're getting for Christmas, and, seriously, and you want to kind of get rolling with it now, but she's also got a tremendous amount of work to do as assistant principal.
Well, you know, you came in within days of when I met you. We formed this show, so we get very excited about
and
things.
We get rolling, and that's you know
she'll keep up.
It'll be good. It'll be good. So.
Wonderful.
You know what time it is?
My favorite time.
So second favorite time. I know the first is coming up later, but this is. But again, we've got Mr. Michael Bessette, our assistant superintendent, with us as always. Excited to see him in his spring colors.
I know, he's showing us up.
Well, you know, you know that it's warm outside when we start to lose the vest. So hopefully we have that. Although. I will like to talk about the very late April snow that was not told about.
Oh, it was wonderful, wasn't it?
You talked about black fly season, you've talked about mud season, but you did not talk about the blizzard that shows up in the middle of April.
It was fun. I bet the kids loved it.
Well, everything's all relative as we go to that, so, you know.
Give me the look, Michael. We better get off that topic, right?
I just need, the warm weather is upon us, and I'm very, very excited. So, as always, glad to have you back.
Good to be here.
Appreciate that. And this week, or this month actually, you've got a fun topic as always. I think our last few shows have been a little bit different from what we kind of started.
Yes.
So as we make that evolution, and so I'm gonna give him the floor.
Yeah. Welcome.
Well, I was thinking about it. It's May. It's that season where we're kind of moving into the summer, or we're closing out a school year. But it's also May tends to be a lot of celebrations. You have graduations for the colleges and university systems and such. And I was thinking about what could be a good topic, and I thought, how about inspiring teachers? And taking just a couple of minutes, you were a former teacher, I'm sure you were inspiring, but since this is my 10 minutes of fame or whatever it happens to be, I wanted to just spend a second thinking a little bit about an inspiring teacher that I had and talk a little bit.
Exciting,
and maybe it'll trigger some thoughts about some of the incredible teachers that we have in our district, right? But for me, what goes into the decision about who was an inspiring teacher, I don't even have to think twice about this. And I was very lucky early in my career, when I first started teaching, I was actually nominated and received the New York State Teacher of the Year award. And when I did, but as a result of that reward, I got the opportunity to self-select a teacher that I could take with me to Washington, D.C. To go to the president and go to the White House, and we had a dinner.
Oh my gosh, we to see pictures, by the way.
Right?
I will have to see if I can convince him.
It was a long time ago in a far, far away place.
Convincing him to find him,
But I picked an incredible teacher. She was a veteran. Unfortunately, she's not with us anymore. We lost her a few years ago. Her name was Carolyn Silsby, and she was in Montpelier. She was my AP biology teacher, believe it or not, in high school. And the thing that I remember most about Carolyn is the thing that I think that endears me to teaching itself, which is she was the most charismatic teacher I've ever encountered in my lifetime. She oozed charisma. And on top of all that charisma was the icing on her content knowledge cake. She knew her subject inside and out, and she inspired every single learner in that classroom to want to go on and do something relative to biology, AP biology, whatever it was going to be. I would tell you the reason I went into being a science teacher was Carolyn Silsby. I can remember her doing the DNA square dance.
Tell us about that. That's awesome.
DNA square. So you have to imagine, you're a bunch of, in 1980, as a high school senior, I'm sitting in a room and we're talking about DNA, and so you have adenine, guanine, cytosine, AGGT, and thymine. So I can still remember it to this day, right? So that's pretty good. And I remember she was about 5 feet tall, and she weighed less than 100 pounds. She was this tiny little little teacher. Silver hair, big glasses on the front of her, right? And she would jump up onto this table. She would stand, literally, the lab tables, the black ones. She would stand on it and she would say, okay, everybody, it's time to do the DNA square dance. Adenine, thymine, gathered round. Cytosine, guanine, coming round. Link with your partners, right? And she's having all of us dancing around a square dance in the classroom, linking up with our partners so that we would remember the chain of events that were sequencing, elements of DNA.
And you did.
And we did. And I still remember it to this day. And it was a long time ago. I mean, we're talking almost 4 years.
Before Howard Gardner's time, right? We were all taught ways of learning.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
that made you remember because it wasn't
sure
just
did.
preached at you.
And that charisma, that warmth, I mean, she had this sense of humor about her, that was key to teaching. She could see through frustration and help to calm you down. And we want to talk about a dedicated person to education. Think about this. In Montpelier at the time, we had 113, 114 kids in the graduating class. So we were a small school, similar kind of in nature to the one we have here. And we didn't have enough kids or volunteers or coaches to coach all the seasons, yet she was so willing. And so we had no cheerleading squad that year. I played football that year, right? And so we had no cheerleading squad. But Caroline wasn't going to let that happen. She wanted to have cheerleading. She wanted the sports teams to do it, for basketball, for whatever it was that year. But for football that year, she went out and she gathered a bunch of teachers, all of whom were well post 50 years old.
Okay, I love this.
And they all got out their poodle skirt style, skirts and the little button-down sweater. Right?
Everyone laugh.
She made Sports Illustrated that year
You're
in 1989.
kidding.
If you go back in time and you look it up,
You gotta look it up.
actually was in Sports Illustrated as a teacher who was so dedicated to her school and wanted her kids to find that they were invested in what they were doing, that she led a cheerleading squad for the football team that year.
That's
crazy?
amazing.
That's really cool.
Isn't that it's an
Well,
incredible
it just shows you the
story.
dedication.
Yes, absolutely.
Those are the stories that sometimes we forget about the power
we
of
do.
impact.
Exactly. I know.
And
How did she feel when you asked her? Just have to know to go to Washington with you.
I wasn't in the room at the time because I actually had to write her a letter to make the request. But when she came with me to Washington, she pulled me aside and we had a little chat. And I'm going to keep the conversation between the two of us from my own history.
Sure,
But I think she was very proud. Not as much as I was proud of her because I know she touched the future. She touched those lives. She is the Krista McAuliffe of my generation, right, in terms of my school experience. And, when I think about our teachers here, we have so many. I mean, we're in the middle school right now. I'm thinking of some amazing teachers that I've seen who are dedicated to kids and do some things, right here, even in science, other subjects as well. When John and I get a chance to walk around and see the investment that our communities put into having high-quality teachers in classrooms, I'm here to tell you there are some really, really amazing teachers who want to do amazing things with kids. And unfortunately, the world around us wants to always focus on the negative things that exist in education in our state, or, all these things that are politicized or whatever. I'm going to tell you right now, dedication to kids and teaching is alive and well in classrooms. And they love those kids, and they love to create those engaging moments, and they're high quality people with really great content and a nice smattering of charisma over the top of it. And you can't ask for more than that. So I'm very proud to remember Carolyn. I try very hard to think about her when I work with kids and I teach, to try to emulate some of the things that she did. And I found a lot of success in doing that. So thank you, Carolyn, for that.
What a legacy.
So I appreciate that.
Wonderful, Michael.
The impact that these adults have on our kids' lives and have on people's lives, outstanding. I'm sure. Who's yours?
Mrs. Valadez, 7th grade English, who taught me how to lose my stutter, right? Who taught me how to reach out to other friends, and who taught me proper grammar. I mean, she was amazing, and so we all have that. How about you?
So, I'm going to be campy on one, and we joke about my dad. My father's is a big quote guy, and the Rick Fortneyisms abound at the SAU and the things that we do. But I'd be remiss to tell you that probably the greatest teacher that I had was not my mother, who's still around, big on education. Reading was fundamental.
Yes.
How to think. She grew up in the coal mines of Kentucky in a time period where young ladies didn't have a lot of choices.
Right.
wickedly smart, and the ability to connect with people. I get my personality, I will tell you, in a lot of ways from her. She could get a rock to have a conversation with her. And then when it comes to the inspirational teacher, was actually somebody that never taught me, but was a coach of mine, a guy named Stan Duda. And Stan was a special ed teacher and worked with some of the most profoundly needy and demanding kids at my high school. But 100% showed me the value of relationships. And by loving people and by connecting with them. And the best part about him, I think we used to jokingly laugh, is when he was my wrestling coach, and I'd be in the middle of a match and he would call my name and he wouldn't stop calling and coach you until you made eye contact. Because in a lot of it, he told me, he said, I need you to be able to see through the noise to stay focused.
Wow, okay.
And so those things that go through.
That's wonderful.
But I think we've all been blessed because, if you go through those places and come up with multiple names, and that's the thing that is so cool about our job now, is we get to see all the really neat stuff that happen in a classroom every single day.
And you foster that. I mean, we all said relationships, right, as part of our favorites. And that's what you both do with your staff and students and community.
Well, because we want to understand that we have, our kids deserve to be loved. And I think that some people say it gets overused. I think it gets underused. We need our kids to feel safe, because when they feel safe, they're going to learn. And when they learn, they can create. And then, the kid that you're sitting next to that we have conversations with might be the next New York State Teacher of the Year, or the Chris McAuliffe Award winner, or the next president, or the next person that cures whatever infectious disease. And so that's the beauty of education, is we don't know the potential and the possibility of what our kids are capable of becoming.
Okay, we need to stop now because you're both making me serious. It's ridiculous. But seriously, it's true though, and that really is, we've gotten so caught up in policy this year and a lot of different things that are really important. But the bottom line.
The bottom line is, I was over at Colby Sawyer the other day, and I was with a former teacher here who's teaching education classes. And I spent an hour with, I'd say 10 or so Colby students who have that same fire, that same passion. And if we do nothing else as administrators, we need to start sending the narrative out to these pre-service teachers that you're getting into something that has the right foundation for it.
It's true.
That decision isn't about money. It's not. You're not going to get rich doing this job. But I will tell you this: you are going to inspire somebody else, and
it's impactful.
It's huge.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Oh my goodness! So that's a great message. And I'm thinking of all the Kearsarge teachers. It's rolling through my head, past, present. It's a district filled with them.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. Well, Michael, thank you as always. This was a great segment. Thank you. It really, so nice to hear those personal stories.
And we need to have those moments where we can kind of lean into the emotional part of things. And as we do a lot of our work, we spend a lot of time talking about the nuts and bolts and the whats, but really even past the why, but getting into that connection.
It's true.
And what makes a difference. And it's just awe-inspiring, the number of high-quality adults that we have working with our kids every single day.
And you get to see that every day. And as much as I love both of you and you, I love the next segment coming up.
Your favorite segment?
Michael, I get to torture him just a little bit. He doesn't know what's coming.
Comes with a jacket.
And the pen. I get all the fun things that go with that.
Michael, thank you so much for joining us. We're grateful. Ask the Superintendent's next, so stick around and watch your buddy here in the hot seat. Stay with us right here in our show,
The Cougar Chronicle.